Let's take a bishop, put it in the center of the board, and now we can count how many squares it controls. That's 13 squares. Now if we take the same bishop and put it in a corner, it controls 7 squares, twice as few. So we can conclude that this bishop is less efficient than the bishop in the center. This bishop controls 11 squares. This bishop controls 9 squares. Now let's take a knight, put it in the corner, and we see that the knight controls 2 squares. Let's take another knight, put it in the center. The black knight controls 8 squares. So you see the difference. And this applies also to a pawn. This pawn controls 2 squares, and this pawn 1 only. A rook in the center controls 14 squares. A rook on the edge controls 14 squares. A rook in the corner, 14 squares. A queen in the corner, 21 squares. A queen in the center of the board, 27 squares. A queen on the edge, 21. So the pieces in the center are more efficient. We see that the center are those 4 squares, d4, d5, e4, e5. That's the center of the board. And you should try to play your pieces towards the center, because they are more efficient, as we have seen. Another reason why you'd like to play your pieces near the center is if you have a knight here, you can go in 1 move here, 2 moves here. It takes you 2 moves. 1 move here, 2 moves here. So you can cover the board in 2 moves. Whereas already, you guessed it, if you have a black knight here, it will take him more time to get to the other side of the board. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 moves. Twice as much. So if your opponent attacks on one wing and your pieces are stuck in the other wing, you might lose. Remember, at the beginning of the game, you have a wall pawns, and we already seen that no piece there play over other pieces, but the knight. So if white plays, he can play only a pawn or a knight. So he cannot play any rook, and bishop, queen, or the king. In order to be efficient, we need to use our pieces. So if you don't use your pieces, it's almost equivalent of not having them. So you need to use your pieces. We already say that the center are those 4 squares, and that we want to play towards the center. So our first move could be a knight move. Let's suppose this knight, we could play it here or here. As we already know that we are going to play towards the center for our pieces to be more efficient, so now we see what's the natural square for this knight. Same thing on the other side. This knight, we would like to play it here. The other pieces that we can play are the pawns. As we said, we are playing towards the center. We already know that the center are those 4 squares. We want to play a pawn towards the center. So we're going to play either this, the d pawn, or this, the e pawn. Let's suppose we want to play the e pawn. We can play it 1 square forward or 2 squares forward. You see that if we play 2 squares forward, we will control some squares in the enemy's half of the board, which is always better. The more space we control, the more pressure we can exert, and the better we can coordinate our pieces. So now we know that we are going to play this pawn 2 squares forward. By playing this pawn, we also open the diagonal for the bishop. We open another diagonal for the queen. After that, we're going to play our knight. Let's say this knight. Can you guess where? Here, towards the center. If we wanted to play another pawn, ideally, which one would it be? The other pawn that can attack the center. And where are we going to play it? Same thing, 2 squares forward, we'd play it here. Of course, the opponent is going to try to prevent us from playing that, but that's our aim. So now, we have our first rule for the opening, which is control the center. Now I'm going to show you a few real games, and we can start analyzing the games. First game, white is a 1600 player, black also. First move, is that a good or bad move? It's a good move. Remember, we're playing a central pawn, 2 squares forward, controlling the center. Black also controls the center. White develops a knight towards the center. That's a good move. Remember, we should avoid playing the knight here. Next game. Is that a good move? Not, of course, because white just moved his pawn 1 square forward. He has played a center pawn, which is already not bad, but he's not controlling the center. Black also made a bad move. Ideally, of course, black should have played his pawn here, or even this pawn here, but he should have occupied the center. The next game. Is that a good move? Yes. Central pawn, 2 squares forward. Same thing from black, good move. Developing a knight towards the center. Developing a bishop. And is that a good move? You already know, it is not a good move. This knight would have been played where? Here, towards the center. You see, it's not that difficult. Another game. Good or bad? It's a bad move. White doesn't occupy the center. Should have played same pawn, 2 squares forward. Black made a good move, occupying the center. Is this a good move or not? Again, it's not a good move. Again, bad move from white. Let's see another game. Nice move, occupying the center. Bad move from black. He's leaving the center to white. Remember, the rules I'm giving you here are meant to bring you to 1500. As you get stronger, you can have some exceptions to the rules and play differently. Correctly, white occupies the center with his second central pawn. Another bad move from black, developing the knight towards the center. Another game. Are you going to play this? No. It is kind of controlling the center, but you should play your central pawns, D or E. Developing the knight. Another pawn that does not control the center. Bad move. Correctly, black occupies the center. Developing the bishop. Knights towards the center. It's nice. Let's see this game. Good move. You should not play this until you get stronger. White develops a knight. Bishop. The other knight. Again, black is leaving the center to white, and white occupies it. In this game, what do you think? Bad move. We are repeating that so you can better remember. It is a center pawn, not bad, but he should have played it 2 squares forward. Good move from black, controlling the center. Bad move again. And this game, here it is, bad move. Good move. Another bad move. Another excellent move from black. White has let black control the center, and black is taking it. As we said, the ideal situation is when both central pawns control the center. Here, correct. Bad move. Good development from the knight. Again, bad move from black. And white controls the center now. Here, you already know it's a bad move. You even know why. It's not a central pawn, doesn't control the center. There's not a problem with this move. Can you guess it? You should know that already. Remember, this knight, we want to play it where? Exactly here. So this pawn has taken away the development square for the knight. Let's see what black played. Good. Pawn to the center. Black immediately answers with another pawn to the center. Developing the knight. Let's check another game. Pawn to the center. Good. Bad move. That is a bad move. Especially if you're lower rated, you should not play this. We'll see later why, but at the moment stick to the D and E pawns. We don't want to mix concepts now. Pawn to the center, nice. That's not a pawn to the center. It is a playable move, but at your level, try to concentrate on the D and E pawns until you know how the pieces work together and pick more knowledge. Knights toward the center. Bad move again. Good move. Attacking the pawn in the center. This game, bad move. Good from black. That will become second nature for you. Another bad move. Another good move from black. Occupying the center with both central pawns D and E. Let's check this game. bad. Once you get above 1500, you can play this. Bad also, developing the bishop. Another bad move from black. Instead of taking the center. Oh, a lot of bad moves here. So if someone told you, evaluate this position, you would immediately see how many pawns have been played one square forward. And you would also see that black has played 2 central pawns to the center, and white 1 central and 1 edge pawn. And you can already see that both players have played the opening bad, knowing only one rule. This game, by now you know it's a bad move, you are now an expert in the opening pawn moves. You see the players are high rated, and that should give you the hope that you can achieve such ratings and even better. Another bad move from white, and black plays his second pawn to the center. It's easy. Next game, d3, bad move. d5, good move from black. Bad move again. And e5, good move from black. Black controls the center. And white has made 2 bad moves, and white pawns don't control much. Here, developing the knight. Pawn to the center, good. Again, bad move. Do you remember why? 3 reasons. First reason, it's not a central pawn, D or E. Second reason, white has played the pawn only 1 square forward, not 2. Of course here he could not have played 2 because of the black pawn. And third reason, this pawn took away the development square for the knight. We already know that's where the knight would like to play. Let's see this game. b4. Immediately, you don't need to think too much, it's a bad move. And white is a 1500 player. Good move from black. Now the game. Good move from black. Another bad move from white. Developing the knight. And you see, black has taken control of the center. Here we conclude this lesson. For those who just started playing, I hope that thanks to the many examples, you have seen the importance of taking the center. And you can see in the games how players constantly forget this and end up having a worse position already at the start of the game. So you may want to subscribe and click the bell to be notified when I send the next lesson. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next lesson.